Hey everybody, I am going to make Philly cheesesteak in a crock pot. But I'm making Philly cheesesteak sliders. So what I am putting in my Philly cheesesteak is I have some top sirloin steaks, and I have onion. This white pearl onion, I always love these onions. And I got a green and a red pepper. So I gotta cut those up in a little bit to put in there. And here's my meat. I have it said reduced price, so since it was discounted today, I figured I'd grab it. And then I have another top sirloin steak. I'm gonna open these up and I'm gonna put those in my crock pot. The seasonings I'm using is garlic powder, ground black pepper, and I love Kinder seasoning. This is Kinder seasoning. This is the all-purpose, but I have like 4 different kinds. I think I have that one, all-purpose seasoning. I have brown sugar, and it was 2 other ones, but I can't remember what it is. And I also have sea salt. Sea salt is better than iodized salt because as far as black people, a lot of us are affected by high blood pressure and stuff. So if you a salt person, you like salt, use sea salt. It is much better. And this is the fine version, but they also have coarse. I switched over to sea salt after finding out that seeing a video where as a person took iodized salt and put it in a little bit of water, and then they put sea salt in another glass and a little bit of water, and the sea salt dissolved completely. The iodized salt sat there. So with that being said, that made me realize, hey, this is how we're getting high blood pressure from iodized salt. But they never told us that. Even though it has iodine in it, your body naturally has iodine, so you don't really need excess of iodine in your body. Okay, so this is my top sirloin steak, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these in the crock pot, and then I'm gonna season it. I'm gonna use about a teaspoon. Yeah, I'm gonna use about a teaspoon of seasoning. The amount of meat I have, I'm feeding a family of it's 3 of us, but we have a guest, so I am feeding all 4 of us today for this. So this should be enough meat. You have to do at least about half a pound per person, because you have to measure the ounces. So okay, I'm going to. So let me switch this around. I have my meat in my crock pot. So yeah, that's the reason why it was reduced price, because it's starting to turn colors. And the thing about that is that you don't really want dyed meat. This is actually natural meat color. So it comes from like a bright red to turn it like kind of dark, but it's still good. Okay. So now I'm going to take this is a half teaspoon. I thought I had a full teaspoon with this, and I think I am missing my full teaspoon. Here it is. Full teaspoon. I've had these for so long. As you can see, they have turned colors. It's just how long I've had them. Okay. Put this amount of meat. I don't want a whole lot of black pepper. I'm taking a teaspoon of black pepper and I'm sprinkling it in my pot all over my meat. I don't have to really worry about flipping the meat over, because once I add water to it, it's going to make the go off, the seasoning go into the water anyway. And I should use like a half a teaspoon of salt. But like I said, sea salt, so it dissolves in the water. I'm only going to use a little bit of all-purpose seasoning. I'm not going to use that much, but I'm going to like just sprinkle that in here. It's like turning rocky. Yeah, it's turning rocky, so I only have a little bit of it left anyway. So put that in there. And then my garlic powder, I'm only going to use half a teaspoon of that, but I'm just winging it. I like garlic powder. I don't have to use powder, onion powder, because I am putting onions in here. So now that my meat is seasoned, all I have to do is add a half. So let me grab that. Just gonna take a regular cup and add water to it. Turn it on high, and I'm going to let that cook. And while I'm letting that cook, I'm going to chop up my veggies that'll go in there later. By the time the meat is pretty much cooked, and then I just add my veggies in there. And so I'm going to chop these up. So I have onions. I might have to chop up the whole onion. I'm not sure. Not yet. But I'm going to do like half of that onion, and the bell peppers, I'm going to do half of the bell peppers, because my family doesn't really like peppers like that. But if I'm making Philly steak and cheese, then yeah, it does require, the recipe does require peppers. I also forgot to add provolone cheese. Provolone cheese. You can actually use any kind of cheese with it, but provolone cheese is the best cheese to use with Philly steak and cheese. So I will come back on and let you all see the next step in my video. Okay, so now I'm about to chop up my onions. So this is what I had left. I cut the bottom half of it off, and what I'm planning on doing is regrowing that onion. I mean, yeah, food costs too much now, so I think I'm gonna start trying to grow stuff in the house. Alright, so I'm gonna cut half of this onion. This angled. There we go. Alright, so I cut half of this onion, put the other half in my bag. And I'm going to thinly slice this. And I'm not putting this in my pot right now. I'm going to put this in like 3/4 of the way from the meat being completely done. But I just want to have it cut up, chopped up now, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. Until I'm ready for it. Alright, so I'll cut up my onion. So this is more than enough onion, as you can see. Just break it up. My hand's gonna smell like onions afterwards, but if you use lemon juice, it'll get the scent out of your hands. If you wash your hands with lemon juice. But if you like me and just don't really care, hey. Okay. So now I have my onion chopped up. Okay, so that's how my onions chopped up. And I always like, it requires, the recipe that I looked at required for yellow onions, but I like the white pearl onions because it's not really sweet, but it's the aroma that I love about it. So, set that off to the side, and then I'm going to start on my bell pepper. So I have to wash my bell peppers off. I always wash them off before I start cutting. Make sure you pull the tags off. Okay, so that's done. Alright, so I'm only going to use half of the green bell pepper. It's a pretty big bell pepper, so I'm only going to use half of it. First, you want to take the center of it out, if you can. You know this is fresh because it's crisp. You can actually use your thumb to press down in there and it'll pop. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. And then just pull the core out. There we go. I'll be using the rest of this in another recipe that I'm going to make later this week. Because I have some chicken I'm also saving this part too to also grow. So this I'm putting in a Ziploc bag for another time. I'm only going to use half of that and half of the red one. Oh look, there's another one that was growing inside. See how curly it is? Okay, so push that out to the side because I'm going to chop that up in a minute. Red bell peppers are sweet. The more colorful the bell pepper, the sweeter it is. And I'm going to thinly slice these into strips. So if I can angle my camera again so you can see. Put that one off to the side. So you want to cut them about this thin. Cut them about that thin. But because this is a big bell pepper, I can actually cut those in half if I really want to. But I just may not. Alright, so all that is done. Yeah, I think I am going to cut those in half. Alright, because then it gives more. So put those over in it with the onions. Okay, so I have all my onions and my peppers mixed in together. And I'm going to set this in the refrigerator until I'm ready to throw them over in my meat. So I will get back online. Put the rest of it in the Ziploc bag. So I will get back on here and jump back on here in a few minutes. Well, not quite in a few minutes, but in about an hour, I'm going to come back and check on my meat. Because one thing about a crock pot, it's slow cook. And I want all the juices and the flavor in the meat to go into to the liquor because I want to tenderize the meat, and I want to be able to shred the meat. So the longer I let it cook, it will get to that point. So I will be back to check on it in about an hour. And it takes about, for the slow cook, it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours if you cook it on high, if you want to shred the meat. But if you're just cooking the meat and you don't want to shred it, then about 2 hours should work on high. And I'll be back. Okay, I am back for the finishing touches. I'm going to switch my camera around. Here is, oh, this looks good. So the meat is completely done. The vegetables have softened. Plenty of peppers and onions in it, just like I like it. Okay. So now I have just taken out my 24 pack of Hawaiian rolls. I always get the party pack because I have like 2 guys, and actually I have 3 guys today. But me myself, because I did the weight loss diet, I can only eat like 1 or 2. So I have to take out my life size cookie sheet. This is my baking sheet. So it has a lot of wear and tear on it. So I'm gonna rinse this off and then dry it off. Making a huge mess. My son didn't put the sugar back, so I gotta just dry this off. And I gotta take my Hawaiian rolls and I have to cut them in half. So I'm gonna do that now. Turn my oven on for a little bit, only because I have to bake it. You want to preheat your oven for 375 because it only takes about 15 minutes for these to brown, because your meat is already cooked. So like I said, it only takes 15 minutes for the bread to brown on top. And if you do it like a little egg wash, it'll give a little crispiness to it. Let's see. Oh, my bread knife. Bread knife, here it is. So it's good to use a bread knife instead of serrative knife to cut through the bread. So here, that's why I'm cutting it. Cutting through the bread here. See if I can turn my camera this way so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, okay, that's better. So you want to kind of try to keep it in the middle instead of veering off to the top part of the bread, because you'll have more of the top part of the bread than you will the center of the bread. It's also easy too if you cut it, like split it in half, like make 12 and then cut it that way. It's even easier. You could do this with the 12 rolls also. Just get 2 packs of the 12 rolls depending on how much you're planning on making. Okay, the top part of my bread is cut off. Now, I gotta carefully take the top part off and put that off to the side for a minute. And then I have the bottom part of my bread. The bottom part is what I'm gonna take and put inside my pan over here. Oops, don't want it to break. There we go. Yeah, what I should have did was frozen my bread. That way it'll come up easier, but it's like not working with me right now. So I have to like loosen it up off the paper. There we go. So it makes it easier for it to move all at once. Part of it has broken already. Okay. Take this over here. Take my cookie sheet. I'm gonna move my bread into my cookie sheet. Still sticking. There we go. I got it. All right. Throw this away. And I bring my top half of my bread back over here. Okay. So now this is what it looks like. I kind of want to toast the inside bottom half of my bread. So I was going to use butter, but I don't really have time to use butter. So I'm just going to take a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to brush the olive oil onto the bread. Okay. So I'm just going to pour a little bit and just brush it in. Just drizzle a little bit. Just brush it onto the bread. All right, so I brushed that onto my bread. Then I'm gonna take my bread and I'm gonna stick it in the oven for a few minutes just to let it toast. Okay. So meanwhile, let me get my cheese out. I want to use 2 different types of cheese. I have provolone cheese and I also have some pepper jack. So I'm going to use both of those cheese. This is pepper jack. So I'm going to use pepper jack today. Let me turn this back up. Okay, put my olive oil back away. And we're just waiting for the bread to brown. Okay, I'm back. Now it's a little toasted, but I left it a little bit, a little too long, so it's got a little bit over toasted. But you know what? I'm not worried about that. To toast it, it should be for about 10 minutes to toast. Okay, I am going to put on the bottom of here my pepper jack cheese. And put my provolone cheese on top. So here we go. So if you're a person that likes a lot of cheese, yeah. My family likes a lot of cheese, so I always try to cheese it up for them. Alright, I'm on sliced cheese short. Alright. Okay, so that's it for that. Now I'm going to take my meat and start putting my meat on top. And don't worry about if you end up piling it up, because you can always move it around once you get it in place on the bread. Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to try to get the peppers and the onions all through it. Try to drain as much liquid off of it. That way it won't make your bread soggy. Unless you just want soggy bread. Now this goes better if you have like a hoagie rolls, or if you have French bread. This is very good to have with that type of bread, and it soaks up really well. So I'm like piling it on right now. So these gonna come out like really good. Get some of these peppers out of here. These onions. If I can get it. Oh yeah. So my pot is almost empty. Okay. All right, so that's that. I only have liquid left in the pot, but I don't really want the liquid. But I can use it as a gravy afterwards if I want to dip it. So now I have my provolone cheese. I'm going to start putting my provolone cheese on top. And then once after I get all my cheese on, I'm put the top part of the bread back on, and then I will slide it back into the oven for about 15 minutes to melt all the cheese. Split this in half just to cover up the areas that I didn't get to put cheese in. Sometimes you can play around with the cheese and split it. Add it to areas where you don't have cheese at. Okay. Put some right here and right here. Okay, so. Okay, I was interrupted by my son calling. So this is my cheese on top of my Philly steak and cheese. So I have the provolone, I have pepper jack, and I'm getting ready to slide this in 15 minutes so it can melt the cheese. So I gotta put the top of the bread on. So I hold it like this, place it on top. I'm just gonna probably brush a little bit more of olive oil on top of the bread just so it can toast a little bit, not too much, because I already brown the bottom of the bread. So I just need to do the top just a little bit. Just a little brush, a little light brush. All right, so now that I've done that, so this is what it's going to look like. It feels like it's about a good 3 to 5 pounds. I'm going to slide this in the oven at 375 for about 15 minutes just to melt the cheese. And then I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes and I just took it out the stove. Let it cool, so this is my finished product. Look how gooey that is. So I know that I can't eat up, but I'm gonna try one of these babies. So I just gotta let it cool just a little bit, and then I'm gonna get smashing. And this is how you make Philly cheesesteak sliders. Okay, I am fin to test out one of these bad baby. Flip the camera around. Still hot. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. It looks so delicious. Very, very tasty. It's just so delicious. So again, it's green peppers, onions, and I use top sirloin meat and Hawaiian bread. And I used sea salt, garlic powder, black pepper, and I'm trying to think what else did I use. I think that was it. Sea salt. Oh, vinegar. Apple cider vinegar to tenderize my meat. So cook it for an hour and a half. Now cut up my meat to thin slices. Thanks everyone. Try this recipe, it's really good.